When my father passed away, the grief was overwhelming. Among the few things that comforted me was knowing I had inherited his small but beautiful piece of land on the outskirts of our quiet, suburban town. It wasn't just land. It was part of my family's history, filled with childhood memories of camping, stargazing, and weekend barbecues. Months later, I finally decided to visit the property to think about what to do with it. As I drove down the familiar winding road, I noticed something strange. There was a brand new house standing right in the middle of my land. At first, I thought I had taken a wrong turn, but no, this was the right place. My jaw dropped as I saw a freshly painted two-story house, landscaped garden, and even a small white fence. In the driveway stood a woman in her mid-50s with sharp blonde hair, a floral blouse, and a smug look that radiated authority. She was talking on her phone and waving at a group of neighbors, as if she owned the entire street. I stepped out of my car and approached her. "Excuse me, this is my property." "Who are you?" I asked. She looked me up and down before smirking. "I'm Karen, HOA president. And this isn't your property, it's mine. I have the paperwork to prove it." I felt my stomach turn. "That's impossible. My father left this land to me." Karen crossed her arms. "Well, maybe you should have taken better care of it. I bought this lot fair and square. You can talk to my lawyer if you want. But if you're thinking about causing trouble, remember, you're in an HOA neighborhood now and we have rules." The arrogance in her tone lit a fire in me. I demanded to see her documents, but she refused, saying, "It's all filed with the county. Check for yourself." I left that day furious and determined to uncover the truth. The next morning, I went straight to the county records office. When I requested the file on my property, the clerk looked uncomfortable. "These papers, something's not right," he said, flipping through the documents. "These signatures don't match. And this notarization, it's suspicious." That was all I needed to hear. My property had been stolen with fake papers, and Karen was the thief. I swore right there in that office that I would fight her in court, no matter how long it took. The moment I left the county records office, I called my friend Lisa, who worked as a paralegal. She agreed to meet me at a cafe that afternoon. I laid out the situation: my inherited land, the mysterious new house, and the fake-looking paperwork. Lisa's eyes narrowed. Karen must have created forged documents and somehow convinced the county to file them. "This isn't just a property dispute, it's fraud." She connected me with a real estate attorney named Mark Benton, a sharp, no-nonsense man in his 40s, who had a reputation for taking down shady developers and corrupt HOA boards. After hearing my story, he didn't hesitate. "This is an open and shut case if the evidence holds," Mark said. "We'll subpoena the original documents, get handwriting experts to verify the signatures, and push for a court order to stop her from selling or altering the property." The following week, Karen was served with legal papers. She didn't take it well. I caught her standing at the edge of my land one evening, shouting at Mark's assistant, "This is harassment! I own this land and I have the right to build here. I'll have the HOA fine you into the ground." She strutted around like the queen of the neighborhood, rallying her fellow HOA members to her side. They started spreading rumors about me, claims that I was trying to cash grab and destroy community harmony. Some even accused me of never having owned the land at all, but I wasn't intimidated. Mark gathered overwhelming evidence. County records from years back showing my father's name as the sole owner. My father's will clearly transferring ownership to me. A handwriting analysis proving the seller's signature on Karen's fake deed was forged. A notarization stamp from an office that didn't even exist at the time of the supposed sale. When Karen saw the evidence piling up, she shifted tactics. She hired a slick lawyer named Bradford, who was known for dragging out cases to exhaust his opponents financially. They began filing motion after motion, delaying court dates, and even trying to question the legitimacy of my father's will. Mark warned me it might take months, possibly a year, to get the case resolved. But every time I passed my land and saw Karen's house sitting there like a taunt, my resolve hardened. Then, one day, Karen made a mistake. She submitted a maintenance expense claim to the HOA, listing repairs and landscaping done on my property months before she allegedly purchased it. That paperwork directly contradicted her entire timeline, and it became the smoking gun we needed. We were ready for court. The courthouse smelled faintly of old paper and polished wood. I sat beside Mark at the plaintiff's table, my heart pounding like a drum. Across from us, Karen sat stiffly in a navy blue suit, her blonde hair perfectly styled, her lips pressed into a smug smile. Beside her, Bradford whispered something, and she chuckled under her breath. When the judge entered, the room fell silent. "Court is now in session," the bailiff announced. Mark opened our case with precision. "Your Honor, my client inherited this land legally from her late father. The defendant, Karen Matthews, has constructed a house on it using fraudulent documentation, fake deeds, forged signatures, and a notarization that is verifiably impossible. He presented the county records, my father's will, and the forensic handwriting analysis." The judge studied the evidence carefully, his brow furrowing. Then Karen's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, my client purchased this land in good faith. Any discrepancies in the documents are due to clerical errors. She has invested her savings into building her home and maintaining the neighborhood's value." Karen then took the stand. She spoke with confidence, claiming I had abandoned the land and that she had saved it from falling into disrepair. She even tried to paint me as a greedy outsider, uninterested in the community. But Mark was ready. During cross-examination, he pulled out the HOA maintenance report, the one Karen had submitted months before the alleged purchase. "Mrs. Matthews," Mark said calmly, "can you explain how you paid for landscaping and fence installation on this property before you claim to have legally owned it?" Karen's face went pale. She stammered, "Well, I was just helping out the previous owner." Mark's tone sharpened. "The previous owner was my client's late father, who was deceased at the time. Care to explain further?" The courtroom murmured. The judge's expression darkened. Next, Mark brought in the notary who allegedly signed Karen's deed. The man testified under oath, "I never signed or stamped that document. That's not my signature, and my office wasn't even open during that date." It was the breaking point. Bradford tried to object, but the damage was done. When the judge adjourned for the day, Karen stormed out, muttering under her breath. But I caught the look in her eyes. It was fear. She knew her lies were collapsing. The next hearing would determine the verdict. Everything we had fought for came down to that one final day. The final day of the trial felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. The courtroom was packed. Neighbors, reporters, even curious onlookers who'd heard about the HOA president caught with fake deeds case. Karen walked in wearing an all-white suit, as if she were the innocent victim in this story. Bradford looked tense, flipping through his papers. Mark, however, looked calm. We had everything we needed. The judge began by reviewing the evidence once more. He spoke slowly, deliberately. "This court has considered the presented documents, testimonies, and forensic analyses. The evidence overwhelmingly shows that the defendant, Karen Matthews, obtained possession of the plaintiff's land through fraudulent means." Karen shifted uncomfortably but kept her chin high. The judge continued, "This court orders that ownership of the property be restored immediately to the rightful heir, the plaintiff. Furthermore, given the illegal construction, the defendant is hereby ordered to remove the structure at her own expense within 60 days. The room erupted with gasps. Karen's smug expression cracked, her mouth opening in disbelief. "Remove the structure?" she shouted. "That's my home. You can't—" The judge's gavel came down sharply. "Mrs. Matthews, you will not interrupt this court. The law is clear. You built on land that did not belong to you. That building is a result of your unlawful actions." Karen tried one last desperate play. "I'll buy the land from her. I'll pay double the market value." I stood, my voice steady. "No, this land isn't for sale. It's my family's and I'm taking it back." The judge nodded and finalized the ruling. Karen would not only have to demolish her house, but also pay my legal fees and restitution for the months she illegally occupied my property. The news spread like wildfire. HOA members who once supported Karen now avoided her. The woman who had strutted through the neighborhood as if she owned it all was now the subject of whispered gossip and thinly veiled pity. Weeks later, I returned to my land and watched the demolition crew tear down the house. Karen stood at the edge of the property, arms crossed, glaring at me as bricks and wood came crashing down. I didn't smile. This wasn't about revenge, it was about justice. My father's land was mine again, and no HOA president, no forged papers, No smug attitude was going to take it away. When the last wall fell, I felt a weight lift from my chest. I had fought and I had won.